Well, welcome everybody. Let's call the meeting to order. It is 7:02. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda for this evening? Just checking. Okay. If there's no additions to the agenda tonight, I'm sure you've had a chance to go over the agenda. We need a motion to approve the agenda for the evening.
I can make that motion.
Thank you, Becky. Second it by Matt. Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest tonight? Anyone have anything? Okay, that's great. If you'll take a moment, and I'm sure you have the minutes in front of you, but take a moment and have a look at the minutes from the May 11th meeting. If there's any questions arising from those minutes or any changes we have to make, please feel free to share that at this time.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just have a few. Nicole and I talked about one of them. My name is just spelt wrong in the minutes. And in section 8, it says CAO instead of CEO.
Yeah, I caught that one myself. I wasn't sure who it was at the moment. Okay.
And in 9.3, Melissa is just, not just, but she's a circulation staff member. We also hired a summer student. So there's 2 different people there.
Fine. So those 3 things will be adjusted. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We need a motion to approve the minutes from the May 11th meeting. Can I have some?
Sorry, I have something. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead, Ben.
I just wondered on the under section 10. It
Yes.
says, oh gosh, it says that I'm the Library Association representative, and that I'm now a Friends of the Library rep, but I've always been Friends of the Library. So I think that's actually just supposed to be that I'm now the. What am I now, Terrence? I forget.
You're the representative for the Ontario Library Association.
That's it.
Association, the
So,
OLBU.
Yeah, that should be changed then, because I've always been the Friends of the Library for the last couple of years.
Okay. Well, we'll recognize that you are both. You're the rep for the OLB, and you're the rep for the Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Any other comments, questions, or changes need to be made? I'm sorry, I had asked for a motion to approve the minutes from the May 11th meeting, and I know we were talking and then we got redirected. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve them?
I'll make.
Thank you, Bernice. Seconded by John. Was that your hand?
Yeah. I'll second it.
Seconded by John. We're moving on to business arising from previous minutes. One thing I wanted to clarify, Leanne, you asked that an issue be brought forward to this meeting. It was discussed, and that is why we have invited our new facilities manager, Jeff, here this evening. But I'm going to ask that we move it down to a final piece of business because it will tie into something later in the meeting. Is that okay with you? Thank you, Leanne. So that was the only issue that I had. Are there any other pieces of business from the previous meeting that you wish to discuss? Okay. Now, as you're well aware, we have an in-camera meeting, and some people will be joining us during our board meeting this evening. So we're going to move at a slightly slower pace till 7:30 till everyone can catch up with us. I'm sorry about the inconvenience. Moving on to our financial report. If you have it in front of you, or if you have any questions in regards to financial report, please feel free to ask any questions before we go forward with it.
I have a question, Terry.
Go ahead, John.
On the financial report, the expense is it Evergreen, I think?
Yes,
I'm sorry, overdrive.
overdrive, okay.
Yeah. Just, I guess that would be primarily Ellen for ebooks.
I'll direct it towards Ellen.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Overdrive is the licensing we pay Stratford for. We participate in a bit of a consortium, but yes, it is the titles. So that would be ebooks and audiobooks.
Okay, is that a one-time fee per year, or is that an installment?
We pay in installments. We also pay the actual licensing fee. I'm trying to find the one in my accounts here to let you know. I think in these accounts was actually the licensing fee, not necessarily the books, if I can recall correctly.
It's page 6, bottom.
Oh, content. No, that will be ebooks. I think we pay that twice a year.
Okay.
And the only question I had, Ellen, it is again on page, let me just pull my pages up here. Sorry, it's too many pages tonight. It's on page number 8, and it was in regards to the metal shelves, and then underneath it, it's the ADA, the defibrillator that we had installed. Was that not donated?
It was through donated money, but it did go through our accounts.
Oh,
the
okay.
AED
No,
did.
I was wondering about that
Yeah.
because I know we stated in the last minutes that it had been through a donation, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, did I misunderstand that? So,
No, it did go through our accounts, but we received it in our accounts and it came out again. The shelving, it was purchased just before I started, but I believe it was to fill in a bank of shelving that happened because they had to rearrange other spaces. So it was the actual horizontal piece in the shelving, and it was a prominent display area, so they had to be replaced for whenever we get patrons back in.
okay. Any other questions in regards to our accounts payable? Well, we need a motion to approve our accounts payable up until May 26th of 2021. Thank you, Leanne, for making the motion. Someone to second it. Thank you, Matt. Second it. All in favor? Thank you. At this point, I'll turn the board development portion over to Ellen, and we'll be moving into 7.1, the accreditation. I know you may have been overwhelmed by the package of policies you received tonight or the other day, but Ellen, I'm sure, can help clarify any questions we have in regards to it. Ellen,
Yes,
I'll give you
thank
the
you.
floor.
Thank you, Chair. So I did try to kind of guide the board through the changes presented. Most of the policies were previously done in 2016, and as previously discussed at the last meeting, they were due for updating anyway. So all of the policies have changed in their format just to try to be a little bit more concise in the spacing, because some of the policies can be very long. My change log doesn't necessarily match what is presented in the package, but we'll go based on the package, I think, because that might be a little bit easier. So the first one presented there is operating policy 9, accessibility in the library. It was the big changes here are about the title. It used to be about meeting the standards of accessibility in spaces, and it sounded very prescribed, that it wasn't necessarily something we wanted to do, which we always do want to do, but it sounded more like we're just meeting the minimum standards. So the title is changed, and I did look at other libraries example as well as the OLA website to make that change as well. So the biggest pieces are that section 5 is new. It focuses specifically on customer services for those who might have special needs and accessing the services in the library. Previously, the communication section had been called customer service, but it didn't really reflect that customer service piece, just that piece of getting those who might need different formats of materials in a timely manner. That's what that reflected. So that title has been changed as well to communication because it reflected better. You can see in section 5, it's new. And it is just that we will take every measure that we can to make sure that everyone is getting equitable service in our library for customer service. And a lot of these things are already in place, either through the municipality or our own standards already. They're just written down here. And the opening is a little bit new because some of the legislation had changed a little bit in since the last policy had been written. So if there's any questions there, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm just checking out to see here if there's. I did mention to Ellen, and I'll mention it to the board, before we entered the meeting, I said to Ellen, because it is such a substantial amount of information to go through, and I said it would almost be best if we have it in a printed format, that you have some time to peruse it, and where you can see where the changes have occurred. So it's just a suggestion I made that we can look at that when we bring these policies forward. We'll make sure everyone has a copy that will reflect both the changes that have been made and new additions. So as we go through, we can discuss them in a more easy format than we currently are. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. What we've done for a lot of council reports, especially with on the HR committee, that any changes to previous policies, they've either been highlighted in red, so it's quite easily identifiable in the electronic format that it's highlighted in red. This is the change from the previous document, which held a lot of similar wording and stuff, so you can actually tell this was new, or even if there was an old passage, say in a policy that was taken out or removed, then it's actually has a strike through to it to show this has been removed, so that when you actually get the final draft, it's quite visibly apparent as to where the changes in the policy are, because you can just basically looking for color and strikeout. So just a thought for next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any other comment? Ellen, did you want to respond to that?
I can definitely do that in the future. I found when I was reviewing the package too, I was like, oh, I wrote this one a while ago. Did I actually change? So I was glad I had the log, but it was very in my head, I think. So yeah, I will definitely highlight and strike through things for the next batch of policies to make it a little bit easier.
Well, thank you. I know I would appreciate it, because when I was going through it, that was kind of the question that I had in my mind. What was the previous wording? The other thing Ellen and I discussed, when we've completed this, we'll make sure each board member has the completed policy package for their own reference. Now, Ellen, is it that we should approve each section? For example, should we be approving policy 09, accessibility to the library, as a separate policy, or can we do it as an overall approval?
I think we can do it as an overall approval. It only becomes a difficulty if they don't all get approved.
Okay, so if there's a specific thing that is in question.
So maybe we, yeah, I don't know.
That's fine. Did you want to continue on?
Sure. So the second one is just the adoption of the municipal HR policies. So that's HR 01 in your packages. That just had small formatting changes. I separated the two clauses just to make them more clear. But it's just as it was. Unless there's any questions on that, I can move on to the third one in your package.
Please continue, Ellen. If anybody has any questions, just jump in.
Caller. So the third one is HR 02, volunteering. You can see here some of the sections were just moved around. but the wording was not changed, just to reflect a more updated format. The only thing that was added at the very end of the policy, the very last line where volunteers will wear identification badges while performing their assignments is new.
Great.
And the fourth one is our mission statement. Again, only formatting changes here. This is based on the previous strategic planning process. So that's your fourth one in your policy package. The fifth one is the municipal HR policy, which again is the same. It's relating to health and safety, that we adopt the municipalities' policies that way. And in our policy package, we don't necessarily need to present those HR pieces, but for accreditation, we will be uploading them. So the accreditation group will know that we are in compliance. We're not just adopting things that are still not in compliance. If that makes any sense. The sixth is the room booking policy. This was done in kind of consultation with staff about what's actually available to be rented in the Listowel space. Right now, there is no projector to be rented. There's only a screen, which is reflected in 5.1. And in 1.6, that wording has been changed where there was previous accommodations to try to create confidentiality in private conversations based on these policies were written before new staff members were hired. So the layout has actually changed, so that becomes harder to actually ensure. So we are just blanketly saying that privacy cannot be guaranteed there for the room rentals. And those are the changes there. The seventh one in your package is just the vision statement, which again just has formatting changes based on the last strategic plan. The one with the most changes is next. It's the confidentiality and protection of privacy policy. So this one, a lot of the sections were just moved around to reflect new best practices and subject headings. So you can see, an old section 1.1 was moved to the opening. It's just to create clarification that way. But you'll see some of the sections, 1.2 is very explicit. It used to be more vague. It's very explicit of what the library actually collects. And that helps explain what we do with it then. So the goal here is to be as transparent as possible with the people's and the patrons' information, that we're only doing what we need to do with it to provide library services. And so section 1.2 and section 1.3 are new to reflect that. Section 1.5 is new. That just is part of an accessibility piece. The use of information 2.3 is new. And it reiterates what I just said, that we will not use people's information for any other reasons that they will give us. There's a few things that had been moved around, but also new section is retention of information. We're actually outlining how we are keeping the information. And this is, I think, particularly important in COVID, when we're going to allow patrons back in the building and we have those COVID records to have reflected in the policy. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay. And section 6.2 is new. So there were pieces previously in the policy about education on privacy, but now we're including employees and volunteers about reiterating the importance of maintaining the confidentiality. And I think part of that should be, yearly or biannual training on even reading the policy twice a year just to reiterate how important keeping people's information private. I think, oh, and section 2 is all brand new. This is seems to be the best practices right now. It was on the OLA as well as several prominent kind of leaders in libraries with their policies. It's just outlining more about the responsibility about the records and keeping that confidentiality. So this one's a little bit all deep, but it is really fundamental to the library services. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Well, I can tell from all your work that it's been quite a job to go through all these. As I mentioned, I found it quite overwhelming when I'm trying to go through and sort them out in my own mind, what is new and what has changed, without referencing your other comments. Anything from any of the members of the board?
We step back just a second to the previous the vision statement.
Sure.
This may not be the format to change that or to review that. Is that something we could put on in the minutes for a meeting, the next meeting maybe?
In the past,
I'm just thinking it could be worded better. And
in the past, John, when we did vision statements and we would do that at the same time as doing the strategic plan, and it was sort of an official brainstorming session and that sort of thing, which I think we are probably due for anyway, because there's, well, obviously the past year is having people review what libraries are and that sort of thing. So I agree with you that maybe the vision statement should be looked at, but I think we're looking at a bigger picture thing as well.
right.
Yes, the current strategic plan goes to the end of 2021. So it is definitely another conversation we have to have as the board of what to do that way with COVID continuing as well.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just have a quick comment. I just want to agree with John. I think that it does beg some, some review. Certainly this isn't the time, but I think there could be some work done to update it. So thanks for raising that, John. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we certainly can document that we can look at it when our strategic plan comes due. At this point, Ellen, are you asking us now to pass a motion to approve these changes to the policies?
We still have some more if you want to go through all of them.
We have the time.
Yes, I think so. There's then there's no questions anymore about the confidentiality and the protection of privacy one. I'll move on to community information. Community information and the confidentiality and protection of privacy go a little bit hand in hand. So you'll see section 1, there's a piece added, well, the whole section was added to reflect community knowledge and the services that people might be entering the library to get help to access. Particularly, I wanted to point out the point 3, patron confidentiality will be respected as per the previous policy. That piece is new. We want to make sure our policies are supporting each other. In section 2, a few of the things were just rearranged to make a little bit more sense in section 2. But point 2 is new. So the display of materials does not, oops, there's missing a T, does not constitute an endorsement of any group by the library or the municipality. I thought that was important to add in. There was minor word changes in 2.3 just to be more inclusive each library space is not necessarily has one bulletin board. Sometimes it might be a window. Sometimes it might just be on the wall. Sometimes there might be brochure racks. Sometimes there might not be. So it's to reflect that piece. And section 3 was added. So honestly, maybe a year, I think maybe before COVID, the recommendation was to have a policy based on government information, especially around elections. So we're going to have to make a new policy, completely new, about the election information. But this election campaign material piece is going to support that then. So it will be a little bit circular, so you can refer to the policy for more detail. So section 3 is new. But yeah, that's all for the operational policy 14, community information.
Any questions?
I know it's a bit of a whirlwind tour. I tried to pick the easy ones, and then the accessibility one got in there. The local history one is next, so that's operating procedure 8. Local history, nothing's changed here except the link. The link was out of date, so I've updated the link, and I passed it by the archivist, the Perth archivist, to make sure that the policy still felt relevant, and she agreed. So that it was still accurate, which I was pleased with.
Okay.
And if there's no questions, we'll keep going. The next one is the intellectual freedom, which is our foundational policy number 2. There were no changes here, except some formatting changes, mostly in the final letter. I just made sure the logo was in that space to make it look a little bit more official from the Canadian Federation of Libraries Associations. And I think the very last one is our code of conduct. I've attached 2 documents here just for your reference, because the code of conduct is, I think, a very important piece. So I changed a little bit of the formatting, breaking up the 2 clauses in the actual policy, but the library actually adopts the municipal policy of the R zone policy, respect and responsibility, as our code of conduct. So I've attached the most recent R zone policy there, just so you understand what the policy really is here. It's a little bit more concrete than some of those HR policy manuals, which would have been hundreds of pages to include. But I think that is all of the policies presented tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, Ellen. Any last questions before we move on? Okay, Ellen, I assume you're asking us to pass a motion to approve these policies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then we need a motion to approve these policies as laid out by Ellen tonight here. Is there someone willing to do that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Matt. Second it by John. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. And Ellen, if you
I
can.
think John made that motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, John made it?
I think I heard you, John.
Well, yeah, I did. But I don't know what everybody's looking at or seeing hands wise, so I just let it pass.
Okay, the motion was made by John, seconded by Matt. Is that correct, Matt?
Actually, no, Leanne seconded it, or I seen her hand up. So
Okay,
I'm just
well, then it's
saying, I do
Leanne.
believe Leanne seconded.
So we'll correct that now. Motion presented by John, seconded by Leanne, and approved by the board.
All in favor?
All in favor, yes. Thank you. And Ellen, if you can take the advice that Matt suggested for
You bet.
how to present it, it would be much appreciated. The next piece of business is 7.2, and that's still in your hands, Ellen.
Yeah, so this is just presented for information. I monthly get the Marigold newsletter. It comes out of Saskatchewan, so it is Canadian based. I'm a big believer in professional development, but what I like about the Marigold newsletter is it covers a lot of library topics. So it just kind of opens up the conversation if the board is open and would like those kind of newsletters or webinars or whatever sent to them just for information. We do have budget for professional development.
I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to go through it. I went through it, and there's a number of excellent webinars. If a new board member joins, there's an excellent one for new board members. There's a variety of different topics. We were just talking about land acknowledgement. Even for our board, our library board, we don't have a statement of land acknowledgement, but there's a whole seminar on development of land acknowledgement. There's ones on gender issues, anti-racism orientation, granting process, fundraising. So there's a real variety. And yes, some of them do cost. It's not very expensive, and many of them are free. So I would really recommend taking a moment and having a look at the site. It's quite a good one. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Ellen. Any comments or questions of Ellen? Well, Ellen, I'm going to turn it back over to you because you're going to update us on the library.
Sure. So for library services, you'll see in there Sherry's report, and it just opens the floor for questions if there's anything in there that you're curious about. There've been a lot of uptake in school visits, virtual school visits that have gone really well. It looks like it's getting spread around word of mouth. So we get teachers calling us every day to get more school visits coming in. And Sherry does those with Megan. But they've also got summer reading almost under wraps. It looks like the programming's ready, and those are getting promoted as well for those school visits. But if there's any questions about that report, that would be that library services update. But if there's not, we can jump right into the van.
I did have a question. What is
Sure.
what is a print from home program? I'm not aware of it.
So the print from home program, people, there's a printing portal through the catalog, and people can submit their prints through there, and we'll print them for them. And they can be in the comfort of their own home with their own internet. And yeah, they just printed a large amount. They print a lot for people at home.
Okay.
Yep, it's just online.
Thank you. And I thought it was very nice when John and I had a chance to tour the Moncton Library. They were showing us this magnificent counter that they have. I understand you've installed a plaque to recognize the story behind that unique
Yes.
counter.
I think that was recommended by the board. Yep, and Sherry got that done.
Okay.
Right when I started. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. 8.2.
8.2. So the van, I was hoping I'd have some really good news for everybody, because the van, we were told, was ready for pickup yesterday, and it was picked up, but it was soon found there was some kind of fluid leakage happening. So it was brought back to the shop, which was frustrating because we were hoping for it to come back into our possession next week after it got the decals on it. So we've got a bit more of a delay on that one, but Brent's taking care of it out of Stratford. I think everyone involved is a little bit frustrated, but it is getting properly fixed. Like the tires have been changed and then they found the leak. So hopefully soon.
Did we ever hear what the finish price was?
Not yet.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Ellen, we'll move on to the COVID update.
Sure. So COVID is changing for the library. So with the new announcement for the provincial government, we are actually, although our service doesn't change, we had not been offering computer services yet. We weren't taking appointments before stage 1 started. With stage 1 starting on Friday, we will begin to take computer appointments for all 3 spaces. With a few modifying changes, all staff will be wearing eye protection at all times with patrons in the building. And computer help will be done 6 feet away. Unfortunately, you can't get that personal one-on-one piece, but that's the direction we'll be going. And we're going to be making a plan for stage 2 and stage 3 later this week about what that looks like for the library.
Oh, thank you, Ellen. Any questions or comments about the COVID update?
Sorry, Ellen, I just wanted to clarify. Did you say that eye protection will be worn from the staff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Other business. We had nothing moved to our other category. The one dealing with Jeff will move to the in-camera session, which we'll go into in a moment. So I'll need a motion to move us in camera according to section 239 of the Municipal Act. We'll be having a closed section, and it'll be pertaining to the proposing and pending acquisition and sale of land for the municipal or local board's purposes regarding the North Perth Public Library, and it involves the Listowel branch. So we will be going in camera. I need a motion to move us in camera.
I can make that motion.
Thank you, Leanne. Seconded by Becky.
Sure. Yeah.
All in favor? Oh, great. Thank you. So we'll just wait for Simon to indicate. We'll just wait for Simon to let us know. Bye, Richard. I'm sorry, bye, Ryan.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for participating. Simon, you'll let us know when we're out?
Yes, you're good to proceed now, Terrence.
Okay, thank you. Let me just get back to my full screen. Thank you. Bernice brought up one thing, and it should have gone under other business, so we are just slightly out of order here. Bernice brought up the suggestion that we should think about a tentative meeting date, possibly during the summer, as there are a number of issues that could possibly come up, and an opportunity for you to respond to the letter that we would be sending on behalf of the library board. So any comments or questions? I also have one other thing. Ellen's probation runs out in July. I'm sorry, Ellen, I don't mean to embarrass you, but our interim CEO's contract, it's the 3-month point, which is a point where we can look at. It's not the point, not the thing to having a conversation on this tonight, but we do have a number of things coming up. So I don't know how you feel if we look at a possible date for a summer meeting. And I say put it down tentatively. If we don't have to have it, that's fine. But if we have to have it, we know there is a date placed there. So do I have any suggestions or any comments, or do people feel we don't, what's your feeling on it?
Want to set a date? I don't know, July or August, and not actually have the meeting unless there's sufficient need
Unless
to,
there's
and-
business to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Terrence, if I could make a
Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry, did I lose Matt?
Matt, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry, I said sorry I've been so chatty this evening, but what we've done on council is we've always taken the extra meeting. Sometimes it's easier for people to coordinate meetings if they know that the first Tuesday of the month that they have library, or if you have council on Monday nights or whatever. Why don't we just book them for July and August as standard fare meetings, as when the next meeting is coming up, and then at the call of the chair, it can be canceled accordingly if there's nothing coming up. If an emergent meeting needs to come up in the meantime, we can do that. Just schedule meetings through, just given that we might have a lot on our plate coming up.
That's okay with me. Well, how do other people feel?
I agree with
People
that.
can't make regular meetings. Like if you can't make a regular meeting, that's fine. Book it for the same time next month. Not needed, cancel it. And then
So
we'll
we
wait till
would-
the next one.
We would be looking at, I'm just looking at the calendar in front of me. We would be looking at July 6th and August 3rd. So July 6th and August 3rd would be tentative dates that we have booked. We'll need a motion for that.
Wouldn't it be the second Tuesday of the month?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it the second Tuesday?
Yeah,
So it would be the July 13th
and August
And
10th.
August 10th.
and August 10th. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
13th and the 10th. So we have a motion put forward that we schedule in a July and August meeting on the 13th and 10th. Do we have somebody making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leanne.
I
Seconded
can second
by,
it.
thank you, Becky. All in favor? We will try to give 1 week's notice on those dates if they are canceled. So we'll try to give you as much time as we can so you know those meetings will take place or not. Sorry about having to do that business out of order tonight. And our last piece of business is a motion to close our meeting tonight. It is 8:55. I need somebody to move. Did you do that? Did you raise your hand, Shirley? Thank you. Shirley moved that we close the meeting, seconded by, sorry, I can't see all the hands. So Leanne's going to put her hand up in second that we close the meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. So our meeting comes to a close. Look forward to seeing you